Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Normally, we're together on Tuesdays in English, but today is Wednesday. I happened to have spent the day yesterday at Universal Epic, which is one of the Universal theme parks in Orlando, Florida. And, summertime, I'm on a trip with the kids, and we went to Universal Epic and we rode that monster ride that moves you all around like this, like you're in the arm of a monster. And we rode the dragon roller coaster. They have a How to Train Your Dragon section, and we rode the dragon roller coaster 3 times. There's one big scary roller coaster, Stardust Racer, Stargazer, something or other, and that one was insane. And I rode it once, and I was like, that's enough of that one. I don't think I'll be riding that one again. Anyway, that's what I've been up to because it's summer, and these are the things you do during summertime, is become a roller coaster mom. So that's where I was yesterday, and I'm happy to be here with you guys today on Wednesday. My name is Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch. I'm an immigration lawyer, and I'm here on all the social media platforms every week. We've been doing this show for over a year now, well over 100 shows, where we talk through the news of the week, what's happening, what your questions are specifically about what's happening, or your immigration matters. And then we talk through an action item. And I think that action right now is really important given everything that's going on. So with that being said, why don't I just jump straight to the news of the week? And I'm really going to focus on the ICE killings that have happened. We have had 3 ICE-related deaths, 2 killings at the hands of ICE in the last week. That makes 4 this year. And of course, you know the names of the first 2, Renee Good and Alex Preddy. And Renee, of course, was at a protest event, driving her vehicle, trying to get away. Of course, we know this now because there was so much clear video footage. And an ICE agent stepped around the side of her vehicle and shot his gun into the driver's side window and killed her. And then, of course, claimed, and Kristi Noem repeated that Renee was weaponizing her vehicle. This is their, playbook. They must have some memo, some SOP printed somewhere. When ICE shoots someone and they're in a vehicle, what we say to the public is that person was weaponizing their vehicle. So that's what they said about Renee, but there was so much video footage. There was immediate, of course, uproar and backlash. And then right after that, Alex Preddy was killed as a protester. And again, they claim that he was brandishing a weapon. He wasn't in a car, but they claim that they were doing this for their public safety. And those 2 murders back to back, and the public reaction and response really created a change within the agency. Not fewer arrests, not fewer detentions, apprehensions, or deportations, but for a while anyway, fewer murders at the hands of ICE. But one of the things that we've been talking about a lot is, from an immigration lawyer perspective in Texas, the fact that, when Kristi Noem was out and Greg Bavino was out and Mark Wayne Mueller was replaced as DHS secretary, he vowed to ramp up detentions, but in a quieter way. And that he has done through cooperative agreements with local law enforcement, like 287G agreements, and ICE patrolling the streets, quietly disappearing people from their vehicles. And we have seen so much of that. At my firm, we do detention work in Texas and around the United States, and it's become one of the major parts of our practice. I don't know if it's true that the majority of our cases coming in right now are detained cases. I don't think that that's true, but huge increase in detained cases. In the last 2 months alone, we had 40 people released on habeas cases. So we've seen just a lot of people picked up. And I've been sort of ad nauseum talking to you guys about what we're seeing is that even though we're not seeing murders, that more and more people are being separated from their families and kids are being left behind in vehicles. Well, lo and behold, murders have commenced once again under the leadership of Markwayne Mullen. And the first is Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, and he is a Mexican man who was driving to work, was not the intended target of an ICE operation. 1 second, bear with me. My children are calling my hotel room from another hotel room. Okay. Where was I? Lorenzo. Lorenzo was not the intended target of an ICE operation, although I was having a conversation with a friend, and she, I think very rightly, was like, who cares? Who cares if he was the target? If he was the target, they still shouldn't have killed him. And I was like, totally agree with you. It was like such a headline that Lorenzo wasn't the target. And that the new victim in Maine also probably wasn't the target. Doesn't matter. Being the target of a law enforcement operation does not mean they have a right to murder you. But in any event, Lorenzo, so much information has come out about what a wonderful family man he was. He raised these 3 sons, these boys went to college. They've now done press conferences and interviews, very well spoken, very clear that this was a quiet, loving family man who did not deserve to die. And the reports are that ICE reached through the passenger side vehicle in front of Lorenzo's brother and shot him, and that he was not, of course, weaponizing his vehicle. And there's been a significant amount of leadership response in Houston. Representative Sylvia Garcia and a lot of the other leaders in Houston have responded and reacted, calling for an investigation. But right on the heels of that, we had another murder in Biddeford, Maine, which is a small, quiet town in Maine. And a young man from Colombia, Joan, Sebastian was his last name, Guerrero, 26 years old. We don't know a lot about specifically what his status was, although we do know that he had a work permit. That's what's been reported. He was shot and killed by ICE in the streets of Biddeford. And the video on that is horrific. Just they pulled his body, his lifeless body, out of the car and cuffed it, and just that video, that image it's one of those ones that'll stick with you if you watch it, watching these agents do this. And then not, 48 hours, I don't think, after Joan, another man died, actually right where I have been in St. Augustine, Florida. And that he was fleeing an action. There was an action going on. This man was running, and he was hit. He was hit by a tractor trailer, which is horrific and awful. It's a little bit different than ICE shooting someone in the car. So what do we do? What has been the response? Well, ICE has, so they say, temporarily paused traffic stops, which I think is needed. It's a needed and necessary move. ICE should not be conducting traffic stops, especially because that's where I have seen that ICE conducts these pretextual traffic stops. They're violating people's due process rights. They're pulling people over. What we see is that it's tinted windows, no light on the license plate, or very minor things like this. And then these traffic stops are what are resulting in these murders. We know it's a good idea because Donald Trump hates it. he tweeted, after this move was made, that why are we letting, our number one tool in enforcement go away? So that means to me that it's a good idea. On the other hand, advocates, I think, are rightly saying, but they're still going to conduct traffic stops, particularly in places that have 287G agreements, like all of Texas, for example. DPS is going to be pulling people over, sheriffs pull people over, and then call ICE. And that, of course, will continue. I will say, though, that there have not been any murders in those instances that we know about. Ruben Ray Martinez was another one of these murders, and he was killed a year before Renee and Alex in South Padre Island. Again, accused of weaponizing his vehicle. The witness in the car refuted that, and he later died in a car accident. So we don't have access to the witness in that murder. But all of these, people shot in their car, Ruben Ray, Renee, Joan, Lorenzo, these were all actions between ICE and the victim. In none of these actions were local police conducting the traffic stop, because this has been said, local police typically are trained, and they're trained not to do stupid things like put themselves in front of a vehicle with a driver. But ICE is not well trained, and so they do stupid things and bad results occur. So I do think traffic stops by ICE need to be halted, and that's a good move. And I think that that's what we could be calling for. And we always talk about, action tips that I suggest at the end of this video, and I'll do that. But I think that we just need to do something. All of us watching, paying attention to this with this on our feeds, we need to do something, because I will say it does seem that the news cycle was more interested in Renee and Alex than they are in Lorenzo and Joan. And I don't know if that's because we're talking about people of different races from different countries, but it could be. And so therefore, I think that particularly white people who are noticing that you're not seeing as much outrage or attention on the new murders that we've seen in the last week, we need to be elevating this story, asking our beloved news outlets to make sure they're covering this if they're not, talking about it on social media, talking about it to neighbors, because we do need to ratchet up the level of outrage and reaction. And I think that the traffic stops by ICE being halted is a good move that we should be supportive of. And that's something that we could ask our legislators to support. Okay, let's get to some other news. Let me talk about TPS. So the ending of TPS for Haitians and Syrians was part of the Supreme Court term. This is one of the decisions that came out toward the end of the term, and the expiration of work permission for Haitians was set on July 10th. It's now been pushed to July 26th, which is 11 days from now. So Haitians and Syrians have less than 2 weeks to figure out what they're going to do. An obvious solution could be to file for asylum, to get your asylum application filed. Here's what I'll tell people in TPS. You aren't going to be picked up and deported immediately. You have a right to go before an immigration judge. Now, you could be detained if you fall out of status. And as we know, that can be very horrible and end with terrible consequences. So it's not nothing. But you're not going to just get picked up and removed. But it is much better for you to apply for some alternative relief, whether it's asylum, a family-based case, a humanitarian case. And of course, the first step is to consult with an immigration attorney. Okay, and then 2 more news items, and then I can start getting to your questions. We have a bunch of children who have been ordered to appear at, there's these new mega removal hearings. So one of the things that's happening in immigration court, guys, is that the backlog is being pushed up. So they're having these mega hearings with hundreds of people being called into court. Now, I will say that one good item is that we're not seeing as many detentions at the courthouses. And this is in part because I think because of a federal judge has ordered that the courthouse detentions by ICE are illegal. And so we haven't seen courthouse arrests at immigration court recently. So all these people's cases are being pushed up. So if you know that you're in immigration court, you need to have a lawyer. You need to make sure that your contact information is updated and that you will be notified if you get a court hearing pushed up. We are getting so many of our cases pushed up from 2028 and 2027 to, we get just a few weeks notice, and this is really happening. So people who are in removal proceedings need to be paying attention to what's going on with your court case. Probably the easiest way is to go to the EOIR portal. You can just Google EOIR case status. That's Executive Office for Immigration Review. Put in your A number and your country of nationality, and it'll tell you the status of your case and when your next hearing is. I would check that weekly. If I were in removal for myself, I would go in and just check that portal weekly, because we've definitely seen instances where we don't get proper notification. And so you don't want to miss a hearing. So they're pushing all these hearings up, and they're having these mega hearings, including hearings with kids. We're starting to see some squirrely stuff happen with the unaccompanied kids. Like in Seattle, they're having these mega hearings with children. That'll break your heart, seeing a kid by themselves all alone in court. We also are seeing, there's been some reports of a new detention center for unaccompanied migrant children in Texas. And these are going to be like pre-deportation centers. I've also heard reports that the state of Texas is accepting some contracts to take over these children. I can't remember which agency it is, but essentially like a child welfare agency within the state of Texas, meaning Texas is getting involved in the detention and deportation of unaccompanied migrant children. I will definitely be keeping you guys posted on that as I have more. And then our final news item is about Chicago. We're seeing ICE activity ramp up. Masked agents are out on the streets in Chicago taking people away. So those are your news items of the week. If you have any live questions, let me blow up this window because I can't see. Okay, this is a question in Spanish, so I'll answer it in Spanish and then I'll repeat it in English. Buenos días, ¿podrías ayudar con un inmigrante que está en custodia por DWI y solo está esperando que inmigración lo levante? Hay posibilidad que pueda salir bajo fianza con inmigración, ya que él entró con visa y tiene un hijo que fue prematuro y aún necesita terapias y neurología. Sí podemos ayudar, y dependiendo en lo que sucedió con sus cargos criminales, podríamos sacarlo bajo fianza, pero eso va a depender en los resultados de su caso criminal y los detalles de ese arresto, pero sí hacemos este tipo de caso. This is a question from somebody who is wondering if we can help with an immigrant who is detained in criminal custody with a DWI and they're awaiting transfer to immigration. Could this person get a bond to get out of immigration if they have a premature infant who's still needing a lot of help and therapy? And the answer to that question is generally yes. We can definitely do bond cases. Having a premature infant that needs help is something that can help in a bond case. I will say it can be harder to get a bond when you have criminal charges. And so depending on what happened with the DWI and the outcome of that case, we may get denied a bond. There are definitely some judges that will just deny a bond when there's been a DWI, but there's others who won't. So it's worth a try, and that's a case that we could take in my office. Valeria says, I follow you on all social media platforms. You're so informative and helpful. Thank you. Thank God for people like you. Taking the bar in February. Exciting. Amazing. Immigration law is my dream. I'm fluent in 5 languages. Thank you for the education you provide. Wow, you have that skill of language. That is so impressive. 5 languages. And congratulations on all you're doing and getting ready for the bar. You're going to do great. Stay in touch with me. Let me know how you do. We are definitely working on, in the future, some sort of like training program for young lawyers so we can get you guys, fluent in all of the different types of immigration law. So that's something we're cooking up. Immigration law is a beatdown right now. And it's hard, and it's important that seasoned immigration attorneys who know what they're doing continue doing the work. And it's really important that new lawyers who are drawn to this work are invited into the profession and mentored and taught how to do it, because we need you. We need you. We need your young, fresh energy, but we need some bright-eyed and bushy-tailed immigration lawyers. So anyway, stay in touch, and thank you for your comment. Sunny says, how is DACA? Status quo, no changes on DACA. We have it. The program is legal. The Fifth Circuit has held that it is. We have Dreamers still in limbo in Texas because we're awaiting a lower federal court decision potentially revoking work permission in Texas, but that would be a huge thing. And the judge who is expected to issue that decision, Judge Andrew Hanen, is not doing it, even though he's had this case on his docket for 8 months awaiting a decision at this point. So status quo. Dreamers remain in limbo. We are seeing a delay in renewals for DACA, although some of the more recently filed DACA renewals, like the April-May filed renewals, are already getting answers. So it's almost like this batch of renewals that was submitted early in the year got trapped somewhere, in some mailroom, some office. But anyway, definitely file your DACA renewals 6 months in advance because they are taking a while. Valeria says, I've been dying to find a mentor. No luck. Don't give up. I imagine you're still in law school if you're taking the bar in February or recently out of law school. So it's early. It's early to find a mentor when you're in law school. I was one of the lucky ones that I took the immigration clinic and my mentor was my law professor. But that's a rarity. Most of my colleagues in immigration law sought it out, kept trying, worked hard, and then found a mentor after graduating. Because it's a really complex area of the law, and most immigration lawyers are busy. And so you have to really want it. You have to really want it to do immigration, because also, like, newsflash, it's not like the most lucrative practice area. It's not like, big law or personal injury or like civil litigation, where you're making more money and working very hard and being very smart. But immigration is complex, emotionally draining, and not as lucrative as other practice areas. Real talk. Mendoza says, this is another Spanish question, so I'll say it in Spanish and repeat it in English. ¿Puede explicar la nueva suspensión de detenciones de ICE? La nueva como anuncio, no es una regla, no es una ley, pero el Departamento de Homeland Security ha anunciado a la prensa que ellos van a solo pausar los como traffic stop, paradas de tráfico por parte de agentes de inmigración, que es la manera en que Ruben Ray Martinez, Renee, Lorenzo Salgado, Juan, Guerrero fueron asesinados por los manos de ICE después de una parada o un incidente de tráfico. Entonces ellos están pausando acciones de tráfico, pero se siguen haciendo las cooperaciones con policía. Entonces vamos a seguir viendo parados de tráfico por parte de la policía que puede llamar a ICE. Y porque solo es una pausa, va a cambiar probablemente muy, muy rápido, pero voy a actualizarles con cualquier noticia que tengo. Si no me siguen en las redes, deben seguirme. This question was I'm not, hold on, Rebecca, I'll get right to you. But this question was what's happening with the ICE traffic stops. What I was saying is that Ruben Ray Martinez, Renee Good, Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, y Joan Guerrero, the 4 people who were murdered by ICE in the last, well, Ruben Ray was in March of 2025, but all the others were this year. This all occurred with an incident of traffic, ICE shooting a gun and killing the driver of a vehicle. So ICE has decided that, so they say, that they're pausing traffic actions so that they're not going to be going after people in vehicles. For now, it's not an official statement. It's not a memo. It's nothing we can rely on. And who knows how long it's going to last. Trump tweeted that he hates the idea, which means I like it. And I do like it. I do think it's a good idea. Now, they're still going to continue the 287G arrests with police, stopping people. But ICE, we haven't had any murders in a 287G traffic stop. All these murders have been directly between ICE and the driver. There might have been I think with Renee Good, there was maybe Hennepin County Sheriff was present or the Minneapolis PD was present, but they didn't stop her and then call ICE. So we are still going to see that. But that's what's happening right now. And I think that is what we should support. That is what we should call for, because clearly ICE agents are not trained to handle people who are in vehicles. Obviously, the evidence is clear. So they need to stop. Okay. Rebecca, how much of a notice did they give you for a Juarez appointment? I have not polled my attorney team on this recently. Somebody's knocking on my door. 1 second. So it's, we have, in my firm, we are a team of soon to be 17 attorneys. We're bringing in a new attorney, and we all do different areas. I do a lot of advocacy, some pro bono cases, and manage the firm, but we have the family-based team, we have the detention team, the habeas team, the humanitarian team. And so what I want to do is check with my family-based team to find out in the last couple of months what we're seeing in Juarez. Generally, we get a few months notice. It's not a quick turnaround. We have several months, but I'll check on this. And if my producers can help remind me that I need to check with the team, and we'll do a quick video on this on my social media platforms within the next couple of days, just to confirm what we're seeing. Thank you for the question. I have 3 misdemeanors, all dismissed, 1 entry. My son is in the Army. Can I qualify for military parole? Yes, you definitely need a lawyer. Reach out to me for a free consultation. But yes, if they were all dismissed, yes, you can. We do have something called deferred adjudication, which a criminal defense attorney might tell you is a dismissal, but isn't actually a dismissal. So we'll want to review your file and make sure before we file anything that could put you at risk. But generally, yes. And can a 20-year-old request their parents? Nope, you have to be 21. But you can get started, when you're 20 and a half, or, in the second half of your 20th year, we can start preparing paperwork and make sure we have everything ready to file on your 21st birthday. Happy birthday. You get to petition for your parents. A Haitian TPS holder, bless you, and I have my asylum case with your firm. Great. Get with your team at my firm and make sure that you have a receipt notice for your asylum application and a safety plan completed in case you get detained. If you have a work permit, that's even better, but we want to make sure your car is up to date, your stickers are up to date, your tail lights are functioning, you're not speeding, you have a safety plan for your kid in case you get pulled over, that you have a work plan. We are rolling out asset protection plans and pet protection plans. This is not just for our clients. This is for everybody. So if you also have bank accounts and things that you want to make sure you have somebody in your life whom you trust that can pay your bills and take care of your pets if you get detained, you want to do all of that safety planning. which you can get that packet from your team or on my resource page, abogadakate.com. Thank you, Peterson. Nayeli, how long does it take for someone to get their license to become an immigration attorney? I love these questions about being a lawyer. You all come join me. So to be a lawyer, you have to go to college, get your 4-year, your bachelor's, and then you go to law school, which is another 3 years. So 7 years of post high school education. And then you take the bar exam in your state, and then you can be any kind of lawyer you want, including an immigration lawyer. All right. Another Spanish question, I'll repeat it in English. This is Lucero. Si mi papá tuvo deportación por decir que era ciudadano, ¿hay algo que se pueda hacer? Es muy difícil, esto es un castigo permanente, pero quiero revisar los detalles de su caso para averiguar que no hay nada que podemos hacer. Debemos tener una consulta que es gratis. Para una consulta gratis, mándame un mensaje directo. This is a person who wants to know if you can do anything, if you have false claim to citizenship. Generally, no, that's a lifelong bar, but there are some facts that we can work around. So send me a DM. If anybody needs a free consultation, we're still doing them. Send me a DM on any of the social media outlets. And my team is managing messages, and we'll get you to the intake team for a free consultation. We're going to wrap now with the action tip of the week. This is related to the recent slew of murders of people that ICE is chasing. Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, Joan, Guerrero, and a man whose name we don't know yet, who was struck and killed by a tractor trailer fleeing ICE in St. Augustine, Florida. All 3 of these murders happened within the last week. So we have a problem on our hands, and we need all of our leadership to respond. So do something. I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do, because you know what you haven't done yet. Post on social media, share this video, call your legislator, demand that they continue the pause on traffic stops by ICE. Call your local law enforcement, tell them you don't want them cooperating with ICE. Whatever, go to a protest, make a protest sign, post a picture on your profile picture on social media. Do something loud and visible about the murders, especially because Lorenzo and Joan are Hispanic men, and their murders are not getting the same level of attention that the murders of Renee and Alex, who are white, got by the public and by the media, and that's not okay. So help elevate the situation with the recent murders in whatever way you haven't done yet. That's our action tip of the week. Thanks for being here with me, guys. I will see you maybe tomorrow in Spanish. We'll let you know. I gotta figure out my schedule for tomorrow. I'm traveling right now, but we'll figure it out, and I'll be here with you soon. Okay, bye-bye.